How's it going, everybody? And welcome back to the channel. And welcome to my very first top 10 best and worst movies video of the year 2021. And actually, right off the top, I'm going to change it to my favorite and least favorite movies of the year. I'm not changing the thumbnail. The reason I want to do that is because there are a couple movies that are good movies, but didn't sit very well with me, but I can still recognize quality. Another little bit of housekeeping stuff. I didn't see every single movie that came out this year. I was a little bit busy building out a van and moving into it full time and completely changing my life. So I didn't have that much free time on my hands. So some of those bigger movies that I can see potentially doing well at award ceremonies, stuff like, I think it's called King Richard with Will Smith. I've heard good things about it. I've heard Will Smith gives an excellent performance, but I haven't seen it, so I can't comment on it. Also, every single movie on these lists, I already have done a review of, except for one. I'll point it out when we get there. So I'm not going to be going into full deep detail on here. This is just a quick rundown. If you want a little bit more information or my thoughts on a specific movie, it's on the channel. And it's kind of an interesting year because with everything going on with the state of the world and me building this van and not having money and all of these contributing factors, streaming services really came in handy this year. So that's why there's going to be a lot more stuff like, Red Notice, it didn't make the list, and The Unforgivable. Ooh, you betcha. Which is kind of fun. It's like the world is changing. I mean, it's been doing this for the last handful of years, but anyway. All right, let's get into it. But first, let's just keep this a little bit more casual than my usual movie reviews, because it is the end of the year. It's going to be a brand new year soon. Yikes. So we might need to make a few changes to the channel, a few changes to our lives, but that's for a few days from now. Let's talk about some movies. And no, I'm not sponsored. I'm just cheap. All right, and these are in order from the best to the worst or the least to the most, or you know what I mean? Number 10. This is a perfect example of why I wanted to change it to least favorite. My number 10 least favorite movie of the year is a movie called Coming Home in the Dark. This was an excellent movie, but it's very dark, just like the title. Within the first 5-10 minutes after things sort of get established, I was ready to turn the movie off because it really is that shocking and disturbing, and it leaves you with that just empty pit in your stomach. But I am glad that I powered through to the end because it was a very well done movie across the board. Just not one I will ever watch again. Yeah, that was a one and done for sure. Being my least favorite number 10, I do still recommend it if you like dark, really well made movies that won't make you feel the greatest. And my number 10 favorite movie of the year is a Netflix original starring Jake Gyllenhaal called The Guilty. Jake Gyllenhaal plays a 911 operator who gets a call from a woman who is in the trunk of a car after being abducted, and he does everything he can to save her from where he is. So the whole movie is set in one location, and the director used that to his advantage to create a sort of claustrophobic atmosphere and focus in on Jake's character and the stress that he's feeling. Plus, he's got a whole bunch of personal stuff going on in his life that is compacting that, and it was a real treat to sort of play guess the caller as a whole bunch more calls started to come in to the 911 call center. Yeah, it was a lot of sort of like guest stars. I mean, it wasn't a TV show, it was a movie, but it was really fun. It was really well done, and for a Netflix original, it's a great example of the quality of stuff they are capable of. And Jake Gyllenhaal's performance, like most stuff he does these days, was gold. Okay, let's do it in reverse. My number 9 favorite movie of the year was No Time to Die, the 4th Daniel Craig James Bond outing. I already screwed up. It's the 5th Daniel Craig James Bond outing, and it was incredible. It had amazing set pieces, incredible action sequences, a great performance from Daniel Craig, a really excellent performance from one of the supporting actresses who I thought was spot on as a Bond girl. It paid perfect nostalgia to other Bond films from the past, and it really did tie up Daniel Craig's stint as the British spy. And it more than made up for, in my opinion, the real bad Quantum of Solace and the just ho-hum Spectre that came before it. They set up a lot of loose ends in those 4 previous movies that needed to be wrapped up. And I thought they did, for the most part, a really good job. Being from the director who directed like the entire first season of True Detective, there was great long shots and pacing. It was just a really enthralling James Bond movie that really kept me on the edge of my seat and had me sitting up. Well, I mean, laying up a little bit more in the van because it's hard. I don't watch movies like this, but it was excellent. That being said, my number 9 least favorite movie of the year is No Time to Die. It just, I mean, I already tore it a new butthole in my review of it. It's filled with spoilers. So if you have seen it and you want to see my deep dive into it, go check that out. It's on the channel. But here's the thing. They completely ruined the James Bond character with the way they ended these entries. Yeah, sure, I can say, okay, well, those were 5 standalone James Bond movies, and that's it. And then I can get a good sleep at night. It's just a movie. I'll still get a good sleep at night. But they completely changed it. Having James Bond be so in love with a woman that he's willing to change his life, and I don't want to spoil it too much, but it just did a huge disservice to this character, and it was not a great way to send this really good performance from Daniel Craig across all 5 Bond films off into the sunset. It's just really and it's really just the ending that does leave that taste in my mouth, and that doesn't trump the incredible movie that came before. Yeah, but it was enough to leave it sticking out in my mind. On to number 8, my number 8 least favorite movie of the year was The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. Yeah, I did a 2-minute review of this movie because I just couldn't be bothered to talk about it anymore. Here's the thing. The Conjuring movies, The Conjuring and The Conjuring 2, for the most part are really good movies. I think The Conjuring 1 is a horror classic at this point. The Conjuring 2, while effective and good, not as good as the first, but it still had the same director, and I think that's where the biggest problem lies for The Devil Made Me Do It. It was a different director that was just trying to emulate James Wan, who was an incredible horror director, but he only produced this third one because he was busy doing something else. It kind of takes The Conjuring and puts it in the same category as like the spin-off movies, Annabelle and The Nun, that are just, they're very mediocre, and I barely remember anything from this movie other than the fact that even the performances from the returning actors, Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga, they're forgettable, and those two are really good. This just felt really phoned in. And my number 8 favorite movie of the year was one that came out near the beginning of the year, a movie called Boss Level, from director Joe Carnahan, director of stuff like Smokin' Aces and Stretch. I feel like Stretch doesn't get enough exposure. If you haven't seen Stretch, check it out. Another good movie with Patrick Wilson. But in Boss Level, it's a Deathloop movie where Frank Grillo is playing this sort of like mercenary assassin that has to get to Mel Gibson's character by the end of the day and kill him, or he has to start the day over again. He also starts the day over again when he gets killed by all the other assassins that are coming after him. I forgot to mention that part. And it was really fun. It had a lot of comparisons to video games. So if you're a fan of gaming and that whole sort of subculture, well, really culture at this point, and you haven't seen Boss Level, check it out. You'd probably get a kick out of it. And the fact that it leans so hard into the whole Groundhog Day shtick, which, yeah, is starting to get overused in Hollywood, but I don't mind that because I find it a really interesting sort of shtick. Seeing characters repeat the same moments over and over and over again, if well written and directed, is very entertaining in my book. Frank Grillo gives a great performance, and the movie could have just been that, but it also has this pretty strong emotional subplot with this kid, who I believe was his son. Like I said, I watched this back in like February, but I do remember the emotional impact it left on me. And when it comes to like a grown man and a child, pretty much any movie can win me over these days. Number 7, least favorite movie of the year. This was a real big disappointment, but it was Guy Ritchie's Wrath of Man, starring Jason Statham. Now, the movie's good, don't get me wrong. It's got quality, it's well directed, it's well acted, it's violent, it's gritty, it's a crime thriller, I guess. So if you like that sort of stuff, you're probably going to get a kick out of this movie. My biggest problem with it, though, is that it was just kind of middle of the road, mediocre. I use that word mediocre a lot, but we get a lot of mediocrity, so what can I say? Guy Ritchie is a phenomenal director. Stuff like Snatch, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, I mean, is good. I can take it or leave it. Rock and Rolla, The Gentleman, those were great movies, and they have these like memorable characters and moments, and Guy Ritchie is really good with his style and the way he moves the camera and the way he emphasizes how characters are feeling and what they're doing or even what they're thinking. None of that was really on display with Wrath of Man, and that made it feel very forgettable. And my number 7 favorite movie of the year is probably why Conjuring 3 was so bad, because James Wan was busy giving us Malignant. This movie, I guess, was divisive amongst a lot of people, but I thought it was really good horror. Is it as like perfect as the first Conjuring movie? No, I don't think he's going to top himself there. That was a great horror movie. But Malignant, you can't really even compare it to The Conjuring, other than the fact that it was directed by James Wan. This is so much different than that movie, and it's got great pacing. It starts itself off as this little like jump scare horror movie mystery. What's going on? Why are these things happening? Why are these things happening? Sorry. And it ends in this like horrific slasher horror movie. And I just, normally that would put me off, but it's not like the whole movie was like that. So when you get to that point, I really thought it was earned, and it was great. I could tell that James Wan and the cast were having a fun time doing this. The movie's bonkers. The movie's nuts. It makes no sense, but it's a horror movie. So in my opinion, it's allowed to get away with that. And that's why it's my number 7 favorite movie. Number 6. Okay, well, number 6 least favorite movie of the year is a movie that has incredible production value, amazing special effects, an all-star cast that give performances that, while not bad, are not necessarily riveting, much like the rest of the movie, in my opinion, and that's Dune. A lot of people love this movie, but I stand fast in my opinion that this was a movie that was made for like mega fans of the books, or at the very least the original movie, or even the miniseries. I haven't read the books. I never saw the original movie or the miniseries. All I've seen is this. And I know that Dennis, I'm not going to try to say his last name. It's French. I'm Canadian. I should know how to say it. Calm down. But he's done great stuff in the past. Like he did Prisoners, which is an incredible movie, but he also did Blade Runner 2049, which also bored me. So apparently when he does science fiction, I just don't enjoy it. But again, this is a movie that it's not bad. It's just, in my opinion, boring. But I watched it with somebody who is a really big fan of these movies, and they loved it. So, but yeah, I thought it was shit. My number 6 favorite movie of the year was one I sure wasn't expecting, and I had no idea it even existed. I just happened to come across it one day on the Cineplex store, and that is a movie called Pig. This movie, you guys, was so incredible. Here's the setup, and that's all you're gonna get. Nicolas Cage plays a truffle farmer who lives in the woods with his pet pig. The pig gets kidnapped, and he has to go find it. Oh, so you're thinking like John Wick? Sure, think that, but just watch the movie, because the way it plays out, it's got this weird sort of mystery around it. It's trying to trick you. It's trying to cover things up. It's making you ask questions. And when it finally reveals its hand, it's such a human story, and it's filled with so much emotion. And he's got this supporting character that's following him along on his adventure. I'm so excited about it. I can't even speak properly. This movie really touched my heart, and I was super surprised because, let's be honest, Nicolas Cage, more often than not, puts out some utter nonsense these days. But this was such a good movie. I can't recommend it enough. Yes, definitely check out Pig. Number 5, least favorite movie of the year. And this is a movie that I saw, but I didn't do a review on because I saw it really late. Everybody else had the reviews up. And quite frankly, it just didn't move me enough to review it. It wasn't good enough for me to boast about it. And it wasn't so bad that I could have fun tearing it apart. And that's Venom: Let There Be Carnage. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm a huge fan of the Spider-Man universe. I never geeked out as much over the whole Venom and Carnage thing, but they were always around, and I was aware of them when I was growing up, reading Spider-Man comics and whatnot. So I completely understood the excitement level there was going into this movie. To his credit, Tom Hardy does great. The stuff between him and Venom, because he does Tom Hardy and he also does the voice of Venom, they're entertaining, but like most people say, there's far too much time spent on the two of them not getting along and Venom wanting to go to like a rave and stuff. Woody Harrelson as Carnage did good, but they completely underutilized him and the character. What happens when Carnage finally comes on the screen and then goes about his little mission or plot that he wants to do? I was like, really? This is what we're doing? And the movie's only like 90 minutes. For a superhero movie these days, yeah, it's possible to do something really good, but I feel like we could have had more. Maybe we needed more characters. Maybe we needed a better writer. I don't know. The movie was also directed by Gollum, so I don't know that he's directed anything else. In the end, the best part of the movie was the post-credits sequence, so I'm excited to see where Venom goes next, but Venom: Let There Be Carnage was just sort of meh. And my number 5 favorite movie of the year is an indie movie called Chompy and the Girls, and I cannot express this enough. This movie is a little diamond in the rough. Feels like it was made by a bunch of my friends in high school. You know what I mean? It's just got that, it's very low budget, it's got that low quality to it, but the cast give good performances, good enough. Nobody was really bad. A couple people you can kind of say like, oh, it kind of feels more like they're just reading the lines and going through the motions as opposed to like giving performances, but it kind of works in the universe that the movie has created. And oh, I can't remember her name now. Oh, Christy St. John. She plays the lead, and the story is about her reconnecting with her father. She reconnects with him, and they meet for the very first time in this park, and they witness this man swallow a girl whole. And then they're off to the races on this weird, I don't even know how to explain it, supernatural, obtuse, comedic plot where they're trying to figure out how he could eat somebody, what it means that he ate somebody, and just this movie put a stupid smile on my face for the most part, and Christy St. John's performance was incredible. Her performance really does take this sort of like fun indie movie right up here. I gave it a 10 out of 10 because I had that much fun with it. It won't be everybody's cup of tea, but if you can track it down, I highly recommend it because it was a super fun time. Okay, my number 4 least favorite movie of the year, and I was looking through the movies that I reviewed and I had watched this year, and I was like, that one, The Protege, starring Maggie Q and Michael Keaton, directed by Martin Campbell, who directed GoldenEye and Casino Royale, and Edge of Darkness, but he also directed Green Lantern. Everybody makes mistakes. The movie's about Maggie Q as an assassin and Michael Keaton, there's somebody else. But here's the thing. The movie wasn't good. I didn't enjoy this movie. It just felt, this is the thing. I barely remember this thing, so how am I supposed to talk about it? It's a hitman movie. Maggie Q is an assassin, and she was trained, and she was picked up in a house when she was a kid by somebody else who killed a whole bunch of people. There's somebody else in this movie besides Michael Keaton, and now I'm completely blanking on it. I'm not going to waste any more time on this. Oh, this one was fun. My number 4 favorite movie of the year was Free Guy, starring Ryan Reynolds. This movie really just was epically fun. Ryan Reynolds is typical Ryan Reynolds, and maybe you need to be a gamer to really enjoy and get all the references that are happening, but I don't necessarily think that's true. I think you'll get a little bit more enjoyment out of it for sure. You can still have a really good time not knowing anything and just enjoying it for Ryan Reynolds' performance. He plays this non-player character in a world where he just does the same thing every day, and he sort of has this awakening and realizes that he's in a video game, and it's just this like really magical story. And I don't know if it would have been as good had anybody else been playing the role, but I don't have to wonder because we have this movie and it was a lot of fun. This is going to be another one that's going to be hard for me to talk about. My number 3 least favorite movie of the year, Old, M. Night Shyamalan's new movie. Like, again, potential, man. Nothing but potential here. But it gets squandered. It's the story about this family that goes on vacation to like a Hawaiian island or something, and they go to this secret secluded beach, and they can't leave the beach because there's an invisible wall preventing them from doing that, and they age like 10 years every 5 minutes or something, right? So it's a super cool setup to see what happens. You know, you've got these little children that are all of a sudden in their mid-30s by the end of the movie, and like there's a girl that gets pregnant, and like that was a pretty effective scene. And again, it's just like it's M. Night Shyamalan. He's kind of painted himself into a corner where we're just waiting for the twist. And even when that came in this movie, I was like, that was the twist. It had moments, but the performances from a lot of the leads were really not bad, but they felt awkward. And it's like Gail Garcia Bernal playing the dad, and I can't remember who played the mom. But I do remember her just kind of giving this like going through the motions performance. And that was disappointing. But it was still fun to go to the theater and watch it because I did it with my little brother while he was here. So that was fun. Hi, Byron. My number 3 favorite movie of the year, easily one of the more recent ones I watched, The Unforgivable, starring Sandra Bullock on Netflix. I mean, I already raved about this movie in my review. Sandra Bullock gives an incredible performance in a very down-to-earth, gritty story about a woman who's been incarcerated for 20 years for murdering somebody and gets released back into society and is trying to put her life back together, also while trying to reconnect with her sister who was taken away from her, obviously when she went to prison, because that probably wouldn't be the best place to raise a kid. And the movie has a pretty decent twist that I thought I was going to be in the minority when I say I didn't see it coming, but it turns out a lot of you didn't see it coming either. That's good filmmaking, and The Unforgivable is f***ing awesome. Okay, this is rough. This is really rough. It hurts my heart to have to do this, to say these words, because I am such a huge fan of the work he has done in the past, which is good. I can go back and I can still watch all of those movies. But number 2, least favorite movie of the year, Cry Macho, starring Clint Eastwood. I mean, it was going to happen eventually. Eventually, we were going to get to the point where Clint Eastwood really is just a senior citizen shuffling along through his movies. I hate that. I hate saying that. He is an incredible, iconic Hollywood star that has given us great performances. He's even given us better movies when he's behind the camera as a director. Just look at stuff like Mystic River. The movie is phenomenal, amongst a whole bunch of others that I'm not going to name here. But the man has earned his place for sure, but it's just time to hang up the old cowboy hat there, Clint, because wow, this movie was just, it moved along at a snail's pace. It had scenes that were meant to be heartwarming and endearing, but just felt awkward and weird. Yeah, he's like 92 years old and he's starting this romance with this Mexican world. This Mexican world. This Mexican woman, and he's trying to escort this boy across the border. Again, my review is there, and I go into it in more detail, but I don't need to see Clint Eastwood trying to get lucky in a dirty Western town. And my number 2 favorite movie of the year was an Apple original called Coda. Coda stands for Child of Deaf Adults. Children of Deaf Adults. It works both ways. And this movie shocked me. I thought for sure it was just going to be like this fluffy Hallmark style movie, you know what I mean? And while it kind of has certain elements that come across that way, it's got so much more going on that it really brings the emotion up in you. And if you don't allow yourself to feel the feels, you're doing yourself a huge disservice. The movie is about a girl who is in a family of 4, and she's the only one of them that can hear. They run a fishing business that's become problematic because they can't hear. So she's like the constant sort of go-between between the family and the big old company people. And then you've also got the other story where she's in high school and it's kind of got the like tinge of glee, but she wants to be a singer. She wants to go to Juilliard, I believe, if I remember the movie correctly, and her teachers are pushing her to do it. Think about that. I said the exact same thing in my review. Think about that for a second. Nobody in her family, the people she loves the most, can hear, and she wants to be a singer. And the scene at the end of the movie where she's singing and they're just watching her, this is some movie magic happening right there. And Coda is a movie everybody should check out. And we have finally arrived at number 1. My number 1 least favorite movie of the year. Oh, this movie. Yeah. If you have seen my review, then you know. This movie, this is back when like the theaters were still closed and all I could do for sure was watch original streaming things. Horizon Line on Amazon Prime is the biggest atrocity I've seen. But here's the thing. I say it's the biggest atrocity I've seen all year. And it's probably true. Not probably, it is. This is my list, damn it. Stand your ground. It's so silly. But that's what kind of makes it enjoyable. So I don't recommend you watch it. I feel like you'll all hate me if I say, yeah, go watch it. You'll have a good time. Because some people, it'll be like, no, that was really bad. Or some people might see the humor in it. But it's a movie that stars a guy and a girl on a plane where the pilot dies and they're on their way to a wedding. And they gotta pilot this plane to safety. But of course, they're running out of fuel. But it's okay because they've got rum to put in the fuel tank. I can't do it again, I'll have a heart attack. Horizon Line was brutal. But at the very least, maybe check out my review for a good laugh. And my number 1 absolutely favorite movie of the year, and I knew this was going to be very hard to beat. And yes, technically it came out in 2020 over in Denmark, but it didn't get its release in North America until this year, so it's fine. But the Danish movie Riders of Justice, starring Mads Mikkelsen, this is perfect movie making at its finest. Is that a thing? I mean, I know nothing's perfect for sure, but the movie it's essentially about a father seeking revenge against a biker gang for the death of his wife and him dealing with that fallout and his daughter at home. But he meets this motley crew of characters that come to help him, and it touches on so many raw, real topics, and the performances from everyone. And here's the thing. Sorry, I'll finish that thought. The performances from everyone are excellent, great, incredible. It's just really good. And Mads Mikkelsen gives an incredible performance. He's an amazing actor. If you haven't like done your duty and started watching his filmography, you should probably put it on your list. And here's the thing. I hate movies that have subtitles. But Mads Mikkelsen on the poster made me go, okay, I'm going to give it a shot. And I am so glad I did. It is so worth it. And even with the subtitles, all of the nuances in the comedic timing come across, all of the horrific things that the people are dealing with come across. It's not horrific like Coming Home in the Dark, but there's a pretty serious subject matter in this movie on top of the revenge plot. And it was the best movie I have seen all year. Wow, I've been yakking for 32 minutes. Hopefully I can cut that down. Well, you know what, guys? I'm going to leave that here. I hope you enjoyed me talking about my top 10 favorite, least favorite, best, worst, however you want to take it, movies of the year for 2021. This year, especially for me, was amazing. I changed my entire life. I bought a van. I built a van out. I moved into it. The YouTube channel started, and we just passed 4,000 subscribers yesterday, which when this goes live will have been 2 days. And the feedback from everyone, I just want to say thank you all so much for clicking that subscribe button. I know the movie review videos that I do aren't as popular as the van life videos, and maybe I'll be restructuring things a little bit in the new year. We can talk about all of that then. I'm going to wrap this up instead of yakking for too much longer. Hang on. Oh yeah. But just one last time, thank you very much, everybody. Have a very happy new year, because it's New Year's, and we got to put our best foot forward, get out there. There's a whole bunch more adventures to go on, movies to see, stuff to build and fix. And now that my diesel heater has finally stopped trying to kill me, I was able to do this video. Yeah, we'll get into that in the future.